thing and see how far it goes viral. I can stop and start recording anytime I want while I'm streaming or while I'm not. After a hard reboot, it takes a little bit of time to recover the operating system and go back online. But I was forced to reboot for a reason. Let's see if we can get this other video to play one more time.
My +5 to dexterity vest. What role do you wanna play?
Who knows what Bollywood is?
Codex, what are you doing? It's game time.
I think I play too much. People say it's weird. We should cut back.
That's insane.
What are you doing?
I'm convincing you to play through song.
It's not gonna work.
Don't forget, there's a delay in the video. I'm creating it on the fly. You're seeing it delayed by a few seconds after it's been produced. This is just the nature of the network, and it's something that we can't really overcome because we can't move data instantly between here and there. But I might be able to get it done. Let's see if I can get it live. Let's see if I can eliminate some of that lag from the stream. Let's try it. Let's up the tempo and see if that makes a difference.
Game on. If I said game on, hop on red. Game on. Say it proud. Game on. Screw the crowd. Game on. No one else to please. Game on. I'll press your heart. Game on. There's no disgrace.
Go to hell, real life, I'll punch you in the face. Grab the reins, don't re-roll, point and click, take control.
Game on. No disrespect. Game on. We're not reaching. Game on. No remorse.
This is a feeling you can't outsource.
Game on.
Invite set.
Game on. I'm unfair. Game on.
Never she quit on game.
We got keyboard chemistry.
Game on.
Thanks,
Okay,
guys. You
that
did a
worked.
wonderful job on
Let's
that
play.
video.
Awesome.
I really think it's
So
amazing.
what do I do with these guys?
It's Bollywood
'Cause I paid for the full
on
hour.
geek steroids or geek juice. American geek juice. It's amazing stuff. I hope we can all have the opportunity to take a sip.
Codex, what are you
this?
doing? It's game time.
The same
I think I
video.
play too much.
What is this Maluka? Let's see what she does with her voice.
Our hero claims a warrior's heart.
As far as I know, Maluka owns her own content, and if she minds being promoted on this video stream, I doubt she'll have a complaint about it to make to me. Or anyone else for that matter.
The Dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all Skyrim's foes. Beware, beware, the Dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend yet grows.
Remember, I'm hearing this in real time. I'm commenting in real time, but you don't hear what I hear until you do. She's creating a harmony with looping versions of her own voice. Wait, what's going on here? She's a harmony of her own voice, being produced by the recording magic of studio recording and remixing. Somehow, they're able to get this to work. I'm not quite sure how it's done. Thank you, Maluka. Let's see if anybody else does the same thing. I happen to know somebody does it. Let's see, what songs has she done? If I can remember.
Now and then I think back to 2011.
That's a commercial and I have nothing to do with it.
Season 1 when all the characters were alive.
No, it's not. It's an actual video. I don't get video ads over my YouTube streams for some reason. Okay, what's the name of that girl? I know it's not Wesley Snipes, Wesley Virgin, Wesley Tucker, Presley Future, Snipes. Wonder what he's got to say.
Once upon a time, American actor and martial artist Wesley Snipes was the most in-demand action star in show business, and for good reason. Snipes' unique ability to be both athletic and charming led to some very successful performances. These days, however, Hollywood doesn't seem to give him much work anymore, and here's why. Hitting it big. Wesley Snipes' career got off to a blazing start when he landed the role of Willie Mays Hayes, the swift-footed base dealer in the baseball comedy classic Major League. But while that showcase
Wesley, do you mind if I tell a bit of your story with this video? Somebody owns this content. Looper
reportedly turned down
is
the chance to star in the sequel,
apparently
Major League
the
2,
account
which
that
ticked
has
off some of his
posted it.
co-stars. Corbin Burnson, for one,
don't
said of the
know
diss, I
who
said,
that
hey man,
is.
they're gonna make Major League 2. And he was like, you're gonna do that? And I thought, wow, how quickly they forget. He'd become Wesley Snipes. That rubbed me the wrong way. Although Snipes had earned the ire of his Major League team, he did earn quite a few grand slams right out of the
Let's see
dugout.
if I can find my angel dove of harmony. 4-part, 5-part, 6-part harmony. She does it all with just one guy supporting her singing voice. He does the boombox. And what is this? What? What? They catch your attention some way or another. System failure. Who built the Matrix? Look at the stuff that I have on my YouTube page. It's not all about music. Oh, what is President Trump? He's saying something explosive for 1 hour and 26 minutes. What is he doing now? Space Force News 3 days ago. Okay, this is not fake news.
Of the United States,
Or is it?
by the Vice President of the United States.
Thank you very much. Please. It was a big day yesterday, an incredible day. And last night, the Republican Party defied history to expand our Senate majority while significantly beating expectations in the House for the midterm and midterm year. We did this in spite of a very dramatic fundraising disadvantage driven by Democrats' wealthy donors and special interests and very hostile media coverage, to put it mildly. The media coverage set a new record and a new standard. We also had a staggering number of House retirements, so it's a little tough. These are seats that could have been held pretty easily, and we had newcomers going in, and a lot of them worked very hard, but it's very difficult when you have that many retirements. We held a large number of campaign rallies with large numbers of people going to everyone. And to the best of my knowledge, we didn't have a vacant or an empty seat. I'm sure you would have reported it if you spotted one, including 30 rallies in the last 60 days. And we saw the candidates that I supported achieve tremendous success last night. As an example, of the 11 candidates we campaigned with during the last week, 9 won last night. This vigorous campaigning stopped the blue wave that they talked about. I don't know if there ever was such a thing, but could have been. If we didn't do the campaigning, probably there could have been. And the history really will see what a good job we did in the final couple of weeks in terms of getting some tremendous people over the finish line. They really are tremendous people, but many of them were not known, but they will be known. This election marks the largest Senate gains for a president's party in a first midterm election since at least President Kennedy's in 1962. There have been only 4 midterm elections since 1934 in which a president's party has gained even a single Senate seat. As of now, we picked up, it looks like 3. Could be 4, perhaps it could be 2, but we picked up a lot. And most likely the number will be 3. You people probably know that better than I do at this point because you've looked at the more recent numbers. 55 is the largest number of Republican senators in the last 100 years. In the last 80 years, a sitting president's party has only gained a cumulative total of 8 Senate seats, averaging 1 per decade. So if we picked up 2, 3, or 4, that's a big percentage of that number. So in the last 80 years, you think of that, only 8 seats. In President Obama's first midterm election, he lost 6 Senate seats, including in the deep blue state of Massachusetts. Republicans captured at least 4 Senate. What we stand for, but what we stand for meant a lot to most people. And we've had tremendous support, and tremendous support in the Republican Party, among the biggest support in the history of the party. I've actually heard at 93% it's a record, but I won't say that because who knows. But we've had tremendous support. America is booming like never before, doing fantastic. We have Larry Kudlow here, and he said the numbers are as good as he's ever seen numbers at any time for our country. But he's a young man, so he hasn't seen that many numbers. Where's Larry? You're a young man, right, Larry? And you haven't been doing this too long, but they're as good as you've ever seen. And we may have, if you have a question for Larry, we'll do that. But I want to send my warmest appreciation and regards to Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. We really worked very well together. We have been working very well together. We actually have a great relationship. People just don't understand that.
It actually
which is fine. And also to
disclosure.
Along on without a lot of trouble. That we agree very much with them, and they agree with us. Go ahead, take one. Well, I'll give you I will give you voter suppression. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I'll give you voter suppression. Take a look at the CNN polls, how inaccurate they were. That's called voter suppression. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm not responding. I'm responding to. Excuse me. I'm not responding to you. I'm talking to this gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excuse me. Would you please sit down? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that the House of Representatives
very hostile. It's such a hostile media.
I don't know what these things are about. Googleplex just makes recommendations, and I look at most of the recommendations that Googleplex makes to me.
Extraordinary means are required to deal with the threat.
Collecting data on American citizens.
You're looking for unknown conspirators, and the way they devised to do that was to look at everybody.
Secrets at the highest levels of government.
A whole surveillance program without warrants
designed for domestic surveillance. What we're doing is lawful, and I think is effective.
Through 2 presidencies.
This is a highly classified program.
It was collecting the entire internet stream.
He chose to keep the programs largely intact. That's not just data collection. That's digital surveillance.
I argued it was unethical, illegal, and unconstitutional. And when this comes out, all hell is going to break loose.
Tonight on Frontline, United States of Secrets, Part 1, The Program.
Let's listen to this story.
Frontline is made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Major support for Frontline is provided by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. More information is available at macfound.org. Additional funding is provided by the Park Foundation, dedicated to heightening public awareness of critical issues. The Wyncote Foundation. And by the Frontline Journalism Fund, with major support from John and Joanne Hagler, and a grant from Millicent Bell for the Millicent and Eugene Bell Foundation.
In other words,
The
Frontline
biggest leak
has
of
a
government
lot
secrets
of
ever
worthy
began in December of
contributors.
2012 with a single email.
They have a debt of telling the truth due to who their contributors were.
Home in Rio, and he sees an email from someone he doesn't know. It's not a friend, it's not his mum, and it just says, I've got some stuff you might be interested in.
He didn't use his name, and he said very cryptically and very vaguely that he had information that he wanted to discuss with me, but could only do so if I were to install encryption.
Guardian newspaper columnist and blogger Glenn Greenwald didn't pay much attention to the email.
99% of the time it ends up that they're crazy or delusional, or the story is just not very good.
And this guy or girl, we don't know who it is persistent. So a few days later, emails again and says, look, Glenn, can you do this thing? And Glenn still doesn't do it. This attempt, basically, to leak all of these secrets, initially just goes straight to the sand.
The source moved on, this time to Berlin. He was soon exchanging emails with American documentary filmmaker Laura Poitras.
She'd been in contact for
It's not
over a
me.
month
I'm
with a
not the
mysterious
hacker.
source who had
The
reached out to
mystery
her
hacker
using her encryption
is
key
one of
and
my
using anonymous
friends, I
channels, and said he had a big
guarantee
story for her.
A few weeks later in New York, Poitras met national security investigative reporter Barton Gellman at a Greenwich Village restaurant.
This was something
I've
she wanted to be
never
exceptionally careful
hacked
about. We
an
agreed
operating
on a
system
cafe to meet at,
myself
and we also,
in
I
a
think, both understood that
conventional
when we got there,
way.
we'd move to someplace else.
Poitras asked Gellman to vet the source and meet him electronically.
Vet
Her source,
the
who became
source
also my source,
and meet him
needed to take
electronically.
very special precautions in the usual NSA style, and so he called me Brass Banner, and he called himself Verax, which means truth teller in Latin.
Through sophisticated encrypted messages, Verax promised an unprecedented scoop, but it came with a warning.
Was this
He
Q?
believed he was risking
Was
his freedom
this?
and possibly his life, and he warned me as well
WikiGate?
that if the U.S. intelligence
WikiLeaks?
community believed
WikiLeaks
that by
founder?
getting rid of me, they could prevent this story from happening.
Was
He said that my life would be at
doing
risk.
this in the
In late
background
May,
the whole
Verax surprised
time?
Gellman and Poitras. He sent them an invitation.
So
He
we're
said,
told he didn't
"Your
do this
destination is
kind of
Hong Kong."
thing himself.
Poitras wanted to go. Barton Gellman, worried about a secret meeting in a foreign country like China, decided not to. But Poitras knew someone who might join her. That spring, Glenn Greenwald arrived in New York to deliver a speech.
And we met that night in my hotel in the lobby, and she showed me these emails that she had been exchanging with this person who was claiming that he was a national security state insider with access to very sensitive information that he believed to be very incriminating, and stated very definitively that he wanted to turn it over to her and to me.
Greenwald decided to join Poitras.
We all knew that this was incredibly risky and uncertain, but the story had to be reported.
In June, Poitras and Greenwald headed to the airport.
I think they're kind of quite excited, but there's also a sort of feeling that maybe this is just the most terrific hoax.
They were joined by Ewan McCaskill, a veteran Guardian reporter.
At the time, I didn't think it was for real, didn't take it that seriously, and thought it was a slightly obscure story.
Once they were finally airborne, Poitras thought it was safe to share with Greenwald something the source had securely sent to her.
That's kind of quite a moment there in a secure space, and so Laura creeps forward to go and see Glenn.
Laura whips out this thumb drive and in a very sort of almost mischievous way says, you know, guess what this is, and told me that she had just received a fairly large archive of documents.
They kind of can't control their excitement because this is clearly the biggest story that anyone's worked on since the Pentagon Papers in the 1970s.
And I didn't sleep 1 second for the next 16 hours because the adrenaline made that impossible to do, because I not only saw the magnitude of the documents, just the sheer quantity, the fact that we had in our possession thousands, not dozens or hundreds, but many thousands of top secret NSA documents that were about a wide range of surveillance activities that came directly from some of the most sensitive areas of the agency.
I could see out the corner of my eye Glenn with the light on throughout this 13-hour flight, reading on his laptop all the time, Laura coming to see him, them having chats, and Glenn getting more and more excited.
We essentially couldn't believe what it was that we had, and that was really the first time I think I fully understood that this is going to be unlike any other story really ever in American journalism or politics.
In Hong Kong, Greenwald and the others traveled to a hotel in Kowloon.
Snowden's instructions to Glenn and Laura are like a kind of magical mystery tour crossed with something out of John le Carré. He tells them to go to a hotel, the Mirror Hotel in Hong Kong, and says that he will meet them in a less trafficked part of the hotel next to a shopping mall by a bench and a crocodile.
We had still no idea of who he was, what his age was, what his race was. We knew nothing about him demographically at all. And so the plan that he picked was that he would be holding a Rubik's Cube in his hand so that when he entered the room, we would immediately know who he was.
All of a sudden, this guy comes past with a Rubik's Cube, scramble up, which is part of the kind of code. But the man before them is not what they expected. They expected some grizzled CIA veteran wearing a blue blazer, maybe with a bit of dandruff, with a tie, receding grey hair, and they get this callow, sort of thin-limbed student type who looks as if he's just out of high school, and he is their source, and he's supposedly the guy who's got the crown jewels.
When this
By the
29-year-old
balls,
kid
he's
who
got
looks
the
a lot
crown
younger
jewels.
shows
He's
up,
ready
it
to
was
give a
extremely
hard
disorienting and introduced a real
cause the
awkwardness to our
pain.
interaction and kind of a shock.
Edward Snowden led the group upstairs to his room.
In his bedroom, by the door, he'd piled pillows as high up the door jambs as he could and pillows along the bottom. So if somebody was outside eavesdropping, it would make it harder for them.
There was always this kind of uncertainty, one might even say danger, hovering over the room, especially for the first few days, because we didn't know what the NSA knew about what he was doing. So we thought it was very possible that the door could be barged down at any moment and someone could enter to arrest Snowden.
They painstakingly debriefed Snowden for days. At one point, Guardian